Hi everybody, we are back, Karen Interviews, and today I am interviewing Vicky Simpson.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're talking compliance.
We are indeed.
And I know nothing about compliance.
Okay.
Other than I know that GDPR came in this year.
Yeah,
which stands for
General Data Protection Regulations.
And should small businesses be acting upon that?
Absolutely. So there's a misconception. So the funniest thing I've heard is, well, with Brexit we don't need to worry, do we, Vicky? I'm constantly astounded by that. It affects every single business across Europe.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty that the SMEs face at the moment is whether they need to have a data protection officer, how much time is going to be involved, and the likely cost involved in making sure they're GDPR compliant.
So what is GDPR specifically? What is it talking about?
Actually, if you've complied with the Data Protection Act from 1988, there's not that many changes.
Some people haven't even heard of that and don't actually care about that.
No, they don't, because they always think it doesn't, need to affect them, and that they're doing everything as they should be, and things like that. So the things that I'm facing at the moment is that no company has, for the SMEs, even undertaken their data audit, which is the most essential thing that you need to know. You need to know where your data is coming in from, the flow of the data, how you're saving it on your systems. Not everyone has, CRM systems or case management systems. A lot of people are just saving folders on
their own laptops.
On their own laptops and things like that. And so the difficulty they're going to have is how can they document the flow? What happens if they're issued with a subject access request? How they're going to destroy that data, because how are you going to search for it? We all have the little search boxes at the top in the right hand corner. But say, for example, you have a Mr. Smith. Well, there's several Mr. Smiths, so how are you going to differentiate and ensure that you're complying either with the regulatory obligations that you have? Because if you're issued with a subject access request and you've said you've destroyed your data at 6 years, and at 7 years that request comes in and it flags up all that data, that's a potential breach. I think the misconception as well is that firms are thinking they're only targeting the big organisations, following WannaCry and things like that, and that those people are going to get fines. And they're focusing on the fines. Now, the fines aren't necessarily the things that are going to impact them the most. It could impact them. However, the ICO could put a ban on you processing data. So if you're a manufacturing business, could be a small family, business, and they put a ban on you processing that data, that could potentially put you out of business far quicker than a fine, because you can't do anything. At that point, what do your clients do? They go somewhere else that can provide that service. So I think people are sometimes looking at the wrong aspect from GDPR. They're also possibly looking at what do we do client facing wise, when make sure our privacy policy is fine on the website.
A lot of people, I think it's great from a consumer point of view, because I've had so many emails going, as the data protection is coming in, GDPR, and we just need to know if you want us to stay on our list, our subscription list. So if you don't want to, then you're not got to respond to this. We'll just take you off and think, I've not got to do anything. It's brilliant.
And that, I personally, every email I received saying, would you like to stay on our subscription marketing list and things like that, I ignored every single one. And the reason being, there was so many fraud attempts. From people saying, you're on our marketing list, would you, they weren't the legitimate companies. And people were filling those in. They were going, I want to stay with you.
There are some awful people out there.
Absolutely. So the fraudsters were absolutely maximising this. Yeah, absolutely.
I have to admit, I've got emails from people and I thought, I don't even know who you are.
Exactly.
So I've ignored them all.
So I ignored every single one.
Except ones that I've literally known, and I've gone, no, put me on. I love your emails. So,
absolutely. So my theory behind it was, if at any point I need that service again, then I'll resubscribe via their website. Because I was so worried at people, there's been so much scaremongering going on about GDPR as well. And the deadline of the 25th of May, and you've got to get everything done. Well, the regs were only handed down on the 23rd of May. Although, as GDPR practitioners and consultants, we all knew
They were coming
they
in.
were coming in,
couple of years
and
before,
people were working on their projects because you had to. You would have been silly if you hadn't. There is a huge percentage of companies that haven't had that opportunity, they haven't had the resources, and they haven't had the knowledge base. And because of that scaremongering, I think people have just been in denial and not looked at it. And actually, you can strip it back. I mean, just in compliance generally, I'm very much someone that strips compliance back to what it needs to be, so that you're not setting people up to fail. The more complicated you make it, the more things that people are concerned about, and then you can't always ensure you're adhering to what you've got written in your policies. So it's very much strip it back to what you need to do, and train all your staff. People aren't training their staff, so for example,
or telling them even what it's about.
Telling them, and knowledge is key. They need to know what it's about, and they need to know, is something possibly coming in the post or by email that needs to be reported to the person dealing with data protection. Now, if you're not training them to even spot it, then if they were issued a subject access request and somebody wasn't aware what it was, then you've lost your time frame to respond. So it's very important, and I don't think the training has to be expensive. You don't always have to get a consultant like myself or other GDPR practitioners on. There's some very good online facilities on the market.
I thought that it's out there if you need to.
Absolutely, it's making sure that you get the right company to do it. But there's companies that offer 12 modules across different industries. So you could have health and safety, data protection, equality and diversity, all different things, and you can pick which modules you want. But also, if you've got an office manual, they can link up, so you're actually having your staff questioned on your own procedures, and that's a very good way of doing the online learning. And they're all in 20-minute segments. Other than if you're, the data controller or data processor and the DPO overseeing everything, that needs to have a more in-depth knowledge. Give the staff enough so that they're aware. They know what to do if something happens, and who to go to, even more importantly, because otherwise it just goes round in emails.
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of training for the course that I'm working at the moment, and I had to literally go through just all the stuff on data protection, and if you print something off, make sure you go and get the print, rather than leave it on the printer or on the photocopier or something like that. Or if you see somebody like hanging around your desk and you don't know who they are, then again, make a note, and it says go to and who to go to. So that makes it clear instructions.
I think the other misconception is people aren't sure what types of data. They're assuming it's data is in the digital world on their computers. No. What they're forgetting is it still includes paper folders.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I went to a firm the other week, and they were so proud in telling me that they recycle all their paper and things like that. And I said, can I just have a look, show me what you're doing? And I said, actually, you're in breach. I said, on the other side of that is someone's personal details from another file. I said, you just can't do that.
You got shredded.
But they were
the ones that do that now.
Absolutely, they were so proud that they were recycling. So it's interesting, but equally, mobile phones. So many of us have our personal numbers on our business cards, so that we're easily accessible by clients or customers and things like that. Have you got the right encryption on your phones? What happens if your phone is taken?
You make me think about my phone now. I don't think I have.
No, but that's somebody's data. That could be you've left your name, your number, and other things on a voicemail. How regularly do people clear their voicemails off?
Yeah.
Do you have your emails coming through on your phone? And have you got the encryption levels at that point?
And now you're making me think.
Am I?
Oh my God, yes. I never even considered that.
Yeah. And do you use Bluetooth on your phone?
I do. I do on the way to work on the train, because I'm listening to.
Okay. And what about in the car? And
yeah.
And do you turn it off?
Occasionally. You have to connect, definitely. But I guess if somebody's near. Yeah.
So there's all these things that people don't consider. And again, I was at a firm, the other week, and we were talking about GDPR, but from a different perspective of, I went into the firm to talk to the company commercial department and the employment department as to services they could offer their clients. So we were changing the whole way of GDPR and saying, look, this is something you could offer your SMEs because that's who their main clients are. And we got onto the subject of phones and Bluetooth and things like that. And then, it got them thinking about, actually, do we have these things? And voice over the internet as well. A lot of firms and SMEs, I can think of an accident repair company where they have somebody will leave a voicemail, and because people are off site so frequently, that voice message is emailed through to them at their email account.
Yeah.
Now, that makes it very hard to then, unless you're deleting it straight away, if you're then saying you're destroying your files at 6 years, are you going to remember that there were voicemails somewhere along the line? How are you going to put something in place to ensure they're deleted? So it's a much bigger picture. However, it can be quite straightforward as long as you get the email, and as it's your processes, and that's where that whole it all comes back to your data audit and making sure you know the flow of the data, where it's going, how you're storing it, deletion and things like that. And that's what the companies need to look at, because you may be saying, oh, we can't afford that, that's a really high outlay that we're paying for a compliance person to come in. But the offset of that is how much would it cost you if you couldn't process your data for a day, 2 days, a week, a month. That's going to be far more than getting someone in for 2 days to talk you through the whole process and to get you set up to make sure that you're compliant. I don't think any firm's going to be completely compliant, but as long as you've got that audit trail showing
something in place to try and mitigate it as much as
possible.
and
that's what it's about. It's a risk. And I think you have to think of how would you feel if your own personal data was out there when it could have been easily avoided. So why would you put your customers at risk and your business and your employees?
Absolutely, it's a big thing, and I knew it was big. I mean, I often talk about it anyway, but a friend of mine has done the GDPR Foundation and Practitioner course, and she had the trainer was talking about, and Ben, he's like big in it, he's extremely trained up on it, and he went to Scotland on the train, or he was in Scotland anyway, and he went to put some rubbish in the bin.
Right. Okay.
And it was like a Mars bar packet or something, and it blew out of the bin. So he turned around, went to pick it up and put it back in the bin, and then someone stopped him, one of these, council blokes, with a camera on his thing, going, excuse me, that's an immediate fine, a £70 fine. And he's going, I've turned around, he said, no, it's on the floor now, I've got to fine you, this type of thing. But that's fine, that's one thing, it's a side issue. But he said, right, it's an on-the-spot fine, so you've got to give me 70 quid, basically. It was all official, his hat, making him feel like a police officer and everything. And he forgot that, from a compliance point of view and data protection, he was like, okay, so just literally, and the guy's gone, right, so I need details, I need your card details. He's got it all filmed, and he's literally done that, turned it round, so you've got the security number on the back, the three digits, and he paid,
shocking.
And then he sat on the train, he went, what did I just do? So actually, he said that he then, because I think the person in charge, or whoever the data compliance person is that you go to, is actually Nicola Sturgeon.
Right.
So he wrote to Nicola Sturgeon and say, can I ask you what you're going to do with my data?
Yeah.
Because and the guy could have just done.
I mean, that is just absolutely scary, isn't it? That could happen, and that they've been trained to ask for that.
We don't question it.
No. And I think that's the really scary thing. Funnily enough, I was on a train up to Manchester not too long ago, had my laptop out, and I was doing a couple of things on it, and a chap came and sat next to me, and he was working for the NHS, and he was in the mental health team, and I could see the email as who he was writing to, and he attached the spreadsheet of some of the patients with whatever it was they were suffering from. And it was very unfortunate. I let that happen for about 10 minutes, and then I just leant into my bag and I got my GDPR book out and I just placed it on the table. And I've never seen him move so quickly.
Really?
And I just looked at him and I just thought, the risk that you have just taken, and that can be so easily eliminated by having one of the slot-in privacy screens.
Yes, I know. I was sat next to a guy who had that. I was like that, and you can't see anything.
Can't see anything.
Damn.
you know, why particularly
It doesn't
for
cost
that,
much, does it? For
£20
companies to
I
do
think
that?
I got mine
Yeah.
from Amazon, and it, you know, I would never put my laptop on if I didn't have a privacy screen.
No.
I think it's absolutely imperative if you want to do that. But equally, I don't log on to the networks,
No.
Wi-Fi's or anything like that, because I think that's just as problematic. You never know who else can see that data.
Scary, isn't it, really?
I think it is, and the difficulty is that people are taking risks. And is that because companies, if you're travelling, they expect you to be working at that level? So it's looking at the risk from all aspects, isn't it, really?
Definitely.
But I'm never surprised at the risks that some people are taking.
They don't think, do they? They just think,
even down to being on the phone and hearing something.
Conversations, unbelievable. Yeah, and in that case, I think, was it one of the rail companies and the rail unions, and they came away. I think this went on the web because somebody actually recorded it.
Right.
Which I guess they shouldn't have done.
No.
But they were high-fiving each other going, and then talking about the whole lot, and we've got them, blah, 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 and all this data coming out before anybody knew about it.
Absolutely.
And then someone put it up on Instagram or whatever it was.
And that's the difficulty. It only needs to be filmed or recorded by one person. And if it's in the public domain on Twitter, and if you think of how many videos and things are on Instagram, Twitter, and all those sort of things, you can't take those back, and they go viral.
Yeah.
So then you're getting that reputational risk.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. One thing that I keep getting lately now, since May, is I keep getting phone calls, which I know are from marketing companies.
Right. Okay.
But then, and I've got to the point now where I don't say anything.
Yeah.
Because they just hang up immediately.
Really.
And I don't know what that is.
Okay.
But then, Frank Cass, who did the GDPR stuff, she said to me, if you get a company that's cold calling you, and I'm getting a lot with Indian accents, nothing to do with Indians, whatever, but you know, or where they're coming from, and I'm getting different ones like Manchester, Slough, Newcastle. I've had them all over, and I keep thinking, what are they? Anyway, so there's one guy yesterday, and Kath said to me, just ask him the name of the company that he's working for.
They won't give it to you.
And they won't, no. So he said it immediately, and I said, sorry, what was that company again? And he says, oh no, I just need a minute of your time. And then he starts to answer, says, no, stop talking. I said, tell me the name of the company that you're working for. And he's going, no. And he's just carrying on talking. I said, you're still talking? I said, stop talking. I was like that. I had to shout him because he was getting louder and louder.
I think they have that script, don't they?
Yeah. And then in the end I said, I need to know the name of your company because I need to know why you're calling me and where you got my data from. And he was like, okay, I'm going now, thank you, bye, go in, like this, was literally go bye, like this, and then sort of he was like laughing at this to a point. And I thought,
well, they try their luck. I mean, I won't name the provider, but my husband is on my mobile phone contract through our business, and I can't understand why people will ring his mobile number asking for me. Wow. So it's very obvious that it's that company that has sold that data on or whatever. Because they wouldn't know that would be a number attached to me. So, you know, the amount of PPI or, you know, have you had an accident in the last 3 years? No, thank you.
I've had people who said, you had an accident 6 months ago.
I've had that.
I didn't know about that. No. Thank you for telling me.
And what's interesting, for me is I go, well, actually, I did personal injury for 15 years, so if I have had an accident, then I've got people in place, or I can deal with it myself. Yes, but you've had an accident. No, I haven't.
That's the thing.
You know, are you almost trying to tell me something? But after this phone call, I'm going to absolutely. And
which is what they're doing.
Yes, because they're asking people to say they've had whiplash and things like that, and. Not only is it unethical, but if any of those individuals go on to have an unfortunate accident in the future, and it could be life-changing, that's not going to help them, because anyone looking at their notes and in history will go, well, it's an exacerbation of when you had whiplash in 2016. And, you know, these firms are completely unscrupulous. But they're targeting specific people, aren't they, to a degree, that are thinking, oh, great, we can just make a quick couple of £1,000, and I think particularly when I'm in the legal sector, ethics and integrity is so strong to me. Of, you know, don't ask people to do something that isn't right. and also make sure you're always acting in the client's best interest.
And that's the main thing.
Absolutely, and it does all boil down to risk at the end of the day, and I totally accept when people go, the world's gone mad with it now, but it's only gone mad with it now because of the situation we're in, and because of how almost the processes have been abused over the years, and that's now why we're
having to do this. Yeah,
absolutely.
Best advice to give company, business owner?
Don't bury your head in the sand. Look at what you're dealing with. There is no company that is perfect. If I walked into the perfect company tomorrow, I would be utterly gobsmacked, quite frankly, because it just won't happen. If it's outside of your comfort zone, I for example, I don't go in for the hard sell. I will offer any client or a potential client an initial meeting free of charge, depending on the geographical area that I may ask for travel expenses.
I think you have to understand the enormity of it.
Absolutely, and it's just talking to people on a level. Don't have that blame culture. If people want to engage with you, it's because there may be an issue, and all you want to do is get to the bottom of that issue. And by speaking to not necessarily the CEO or the MD, you need to speak to, if it's a manufacturing background, the people on the floor to know what's going on. Then you can put a system in place, then you can work within a framework. But I think it's making sure that it's a framework that company can continue to grow with, and make sure they're actually adhering to that. Don't overcomplicate it so that you're setting them up to fail. And always review the processes. It's always going to be a work in progress. It's not a one size fits all. So I think just deal with it head on, and nothing, there's no problem that you can't resolve, or at least start to put something in place so it doesn't happen again.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully this has helped you guys watching. We'll carry on a conversation.
It's not as scary as people think.
No, it's not.
It's taking the scare factor out, I think.
Absolutely,
So. Fabulous.
See you again soon, guys. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.